Governor Bob Ferguson supports an income tax in Washington state. It's cleverly named the Millionaires Tax. Just the name sounds frickin' good, yeah? Tax the rich. Always sounds good. Let me give you a little bit of perspective here. The U.S. makes up 4.3% of the global population, but yet the U.S. makes up 24% of the global GDP. Let me do this quick math here. 4.3 times 3 to the power of grayskull, carry the 1, and yeah, we are the rich. You are the rich. The U.S. poverty line for an individual is just short of $15,000 a year. The global poverty line is just under $1,100 a year. So as far as the world sees you, you are rich. Okay, so this tax thing being proposed is a 9.9% tax on income over $1 million a year. This proposal aims to address the state's budget issues and create a fair tax system, although it faces legal challenges and would not generate revenue until 2029. More than $3 billion a year could be generated from this new tax. Just listen to what Bob said.
To put more money back into K-12 schools and bolster Washington students' access to a world-class education.
Wow, Bob. Okay, I'm going to break that whole thing down into the three major things that were just mentioned, right? Number one, a 9.9% tax on income over $1 million a year. Okay, sounds great for the average Joe. Income like from an employer over $1 million is extremely rare. The original projections for this tax said it would affect 0.5% of the residents. So who are these people that make this kind of salary? I'm going to break down the salary of just one man, Satya Nadella. And I'm sure I'm not saying his name right, but he's the current CEO of Microsoft. His salary for 2025 was $96.4 million. Well, kind of. You see, when salaries are nearing the seven-figure mark or beyond, everything starts kind of shifting around. So for Satya, his base salary is $2.5 million. He received a bonus of $9.5 million and was given a stock award giving him additional equity of over $84 million. So what is taxable? This base salary and bonus were the only cash salary given. So if this tax was in place last year, Washington state would be putting a tax on just over $12 million of this man's income. And that equates to taxing him about $1.2 million just in state tax. Keep in mind, federal income tax for his level of earnings, 37% by the way, is hitting him for another $4.4 million. Now, I don't know Satya personally, but I'm guessing he isn't exactly thrilled about paying another $1.2 million to the state of Washington.
What is he talking about?
So my question here would be, what would change if this tax became law? Satya could have his bonuses given as stock awards, or perhaps because he isn't the only one at Microsoft making ridiculous good money, maybe moving the Microsoft Corporation out of the state of Washington. Like, not the entire company, just the corporation, so that executive salaries could be paid in an out-of-state kind of separate entity, right? Now, Satya is not alone. Microsoft is the highest profit company in Washington, but it's a close second to Amazon. But you still have Costco and Starbucks, Alaska Air, Expedia, T-Mobile, the list goes on. And they would probably start exploring options, potentially doing the same thing Boeing did. Did you know Boeing is headquartered in Virginia? And besides, the top 0.5% Bob is targeting for this tax have highly paid tax attorneys that will help them avoid paying this tax.
First, you must ask yourself, are you wealthy?
Number two, Bob claims this tax will put more money back in the K-12 schools and bolster student access to world-class education. So, reading between the lines, I think what he's saying is UW's going to get some of this dough, but who knows? You remember that whole marijuana tax thing, the excise tax on pot, the 37% retail sales tax? Estimates put that number at $511 million collected in the tax revenue for 2025. Do you remember when they said that a lot of that tax money would go to education?
The money would go towards education
and health care.
There's been a lot of debate here in Washington about how the state should use the tax money that it gets from marijuana purchases.
One viewer wrote to us saying that she thought it was supposed to go to schools and asked if that's actually happening.
The Office of Financial Management and OSPI say roughly $520,000 a year goes to OSPI directly from the dedicated marijuana account.
Well, the state's definition of education is a bit different than yours may be. About 5% of that tax is set to go to education, but most of that will go to fund cannabis education. So basically the Just Say No program. The Building Bridges program, which helps identify potential youth with substance abuse problems in an attempt to prevent dropouts, well, they'll receive less than $1 million from that. Public education materials, they'll get about $30,000, but that was already earmarked for the UW to make web-based materials to educate the health and safety risks of marijuana. So anytime the state says that a tax is going to go to education, I think we need to see what that actually means. What is the percentage that will actually go to K through 12 schools, and what do the schools need to do to qualify? Because in Washington, there's 295 school districts and only 12 are under contract with the state for additional funding. So I guess what I'm saying is when you see a campaign ad saying something about providing money to schools, don't take that at face value. And number 3, as written, the tax won't start generating revenue until 2029. So, Bob, when do you plan to push this through? Like, when are you going to start collecting this tax? I'm super confused about this whole 2029 thing. Also, Bob, if you're watching, which I hope someone at your office does at the very least, you were the former Attorney General for 12 years. Surely you know Washington State's Constitution. And this tax is in direct conflict with that state constitution. Washington State's Constitution prohibits a personal income tax classifying income as property, which must adhere to uniformity in levy requirements. Now, for everyone else watching, Bob here managed to squeeze through a capital gains tax, arguing to the Washington Supreme Court that capital gains is a sales tax because you would be selling a long-term asset instead of it being an income. For context here, the United States IRS considers capital gains an income because, well, it is. Okay, Bobby, I'm going to talk to you directly here for a second. A tax like this can and will cause damage to Washington State's economy. This tax will cause opportunities to flee. Washington State's tech sector dominates 17 of the top 50 largest companies. The tech sector is already a target for high business taxes, and this 9.9% income tax could easily be the deciding factor on if a company moves out of Washington or not. So, the cool thing here, Bob, is that we actually have data available because we already have a case study for this. California. Love them or hate them, Tesla, Palantir, Chevron, McKesson, Oracle, CBRE, even Charles Schwab left California. 173,000 jobs left California in 2025 alone. Over 75,000 of those were tech jobs. So compare side by side. Washington State currently has about 420,000 tech jobs, Seattle, Bellevue, and Redmond being the primary location for these jobs. If 75,000 tech jobs left in just 1 year, what happens? Your high-earning constituents leave. Now, you'll still be able to keep your Medina and Clyde Hill friends, though, because they don't earn through taxable income, but your higher earners, they ain't sticking around. So, Bob, listen, King and Pierce counties elected you. So what are you trying to do here? Personally, Bob, like what is your goal? Not the state's goal. What's your goal? Are you going for the optics of a political win, perhaps a little Robin Hood story? Bob, what happens if the Supreme Court strikes this down as being unconstitutional? The governor and 12-year former attorney general wrote a bill that's unconstitutional. What kind of optics are you going to get then? Bob, you're kind of in this weird lose-lose situation with this bill. Okay, Bob, a little bit about me, right? I got priced out of the greater Seattle area, plain and simple. I couldn't afford to live there anymore. In 2017, I moved to the battle-born state of Nevada, a state that also doesn't have an income tax, but without the Seattle cost of living. Shortly after I moved there, tons of people moved there from California, most of which being from the tech industry. Even Hollywood's leaving California, with Sony Pictures building a 31-acre complex just outside of Las Vegas. Although I'm not a Washington resident, I deeply care about the economy of the state of Washington. Washington is where some of the most important people in my life reside. The quality of life for my friends and family are of great importance to me. Bob, my YouTube channel is tiny. It's not even monetized, yet here I am, making a direct plea to you, sir. Bob, please stop this madness. Just exploring this tax could be enough to cause irreparable damage to the economy of Washington state. Spencer Cox, Jared Polis, Brad Little, Joe Lombardo, and many others want your tax bill to pass. Why? Because it'll be a net positive for their states if your bill becomes law. To my Washington state residents, friends, and family, just be cautious when it comes to taxes and how it's being pushed. If the money goes to what you want extra funding to go for, and it's actually written in the law that the money will actually go where you want it, then vote for it. All too often, these tax bills are written in a way where the money goes it's not something a citizen can easily track, right? Like the $55.8 million annually that goes to the governor's office, or the $76 million that goes annually to the attorney general's office. And that was just last year's budget, by the way. So thank you, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate it. Bob, if you're watching, I probably not, but hopefully somebody from your office will. Until next time, have a good day. Stay safe and do what you think is right. Just, I don't know, in the words of David Manning, be a good human.
That is not something to be proud of, Bobby.